Welcome to another episode of Camouflage Addiction Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Cline.
And I'm your co-host, Justin Baker.
Today we're going to talk about our partners a little bit, and then Justin and I are going to pull some hunts out of the old memory bank, some of our most memorable hunts.
Yes, sir.
So grab yourself a beer, sit back, and enjoy the podcast. Camouflage Addiction is proudly partnered with Buck Fever Seed Company, Coyote Cords, Predator Hunter Outdoors, and ScentLok. All right. Episode 2.
I'm excited. We had a blast on the first one.
Yeah, we got a lot of.
Going to be just as good.
Yeah, we got a lot of good feedback on the last one too. But I think we're going to start off this podcast with talking about our partners a little bit. We have a really cool partner, Buck Fever Seed Company. They have a lot of different seed mixes to offer. Just a couple of them here is the punch list: purple top turnip, deer radish, supporting wall. That one's really cool because it's not really something that you see get planted very often. No. And Jeff, who is the owner of Buck Fever, he plants them because if he plants them around his plot, because when those deer get into this plot, they've got that big wall around it and they just feel real safe. Jeff is actually going to send us, he texted me yesterday, I think, and said that he has packaged up a box to send to us to be able to do some giveaways on the podcast. So
looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And then I think I'm going to go up to Iowa this spring and kill Jeff's turkeys.
What is this? I think you meant we.
Okay, we will go up there and kill some. And I don't even care if I get to kill them. Like, even if you get to kill them, because you didn't get to kill your turkey last year.
No, I missed out.
So, and their season opens the week before ours does. So I figured
so we can kill 2 turkeys, go up there, kill one, come back. Kill one.
I figured that we'll go up there first.
Yeah,
out of the way, and then we'll come back home here and kill our birds. Predator Hunter Outdoors. There you can get all of your thermal scopes, night vision scopes, and accessories, and then other predator hunting accessories. That's another cool group of guys over there. Paul's a really good dude.
Yep.
Coyote Cords. Travis is a really good dude. He's fun to talk to. They obviously, by the name, they supply coyote drags, and they're custom order. So just let him know what colors you want, and he does a fantastic job.
And here's the kicker, though. You can use them for more than just coyotes.
Exactly, and that was what I was going to get into. So he's got like smaller type drags, like hand drags almost, and people use them to carry their turkeys or, whatever it might be out of the woods.
String up some birds if you're bird hunting.
Doves, exactly.
Pheasants, whatever.
Yep. And then, of course, ScentLok. Obviously, all your scent control gear. Check out the new B1 series. They've come out with a heated vest. Now there's like a little button on the side on the chest that you push. And it's just like your Milwaukee heated jackets. But the pattern on these B1 series is phenomenal.
So you blend in and stay warm at the same time.
Yeah.
All about that.
Yeah. And then ozone products, obviously, through ScentLok. And I will leave a link to all of our partners in the description of this video. That way you guys can go check those guys out. I know that Buck Fever has their store is actually on Facebook, where you can go and check out their stuff just by going to their Facebook page. So good group of guys, definitely have helped support us. I know that that Jeff with Buck Fever is a guy that pretty much will do anything to help if you need help, figuring out what kind of seed you need, how to get it done, how to do it, the best soil types, everything.
How much you'll need
for
whatever size plot you're putting out.
Yeah, just send a message over to Buck Fever Seed Company, and then he'll get back with you and pretty much get you all situated. He'll pretty much do all the work other than planting the plot.
Yeah.
He'll mix your seeds.
He's going to do the gravy work. You're going to do the hard work.
Yeah. But yeah, go check out our partners. Really good group of guys on all of them. Treated us very well. So that being said, let's do something fun. Let's talk about our most memorable hunts. So if you had to pull, if you had to choose one hunt that you look back on, and I guess it doesn't have to be just one. I would say at least maybe two, but just pick one that is your most memorable.
I know we talked about this previously, and I told you that I don't think there's one hunt that I've done that hasn't in some sort of way been memorable, and I kind of feel like that's the way it should be. Every hunt should mean something to you,
Right.
But I think the one that really kind of stands out to me the most would be a hunt that I was on. My dad and his brother, my uncle, they went walking out a ridge, and I stayed back in this cut. It's a ridge. It's kind of shaped like a V, more or less.
Yeah.
And I was in the crease of it, and they walked out on the right side, looking out. They got down to the bottom, because I could watch them, the whole way. They got down to the bottom, and I couldn't see them anymore. Probably not even 5 minutes went by, and like literally a dozen, maybe more. I don't remember exactly how many, but there's probably a dozen, and they were all does, come flying up out of that bottom, and they were coming up the left side of that ridge. And I'm sitting there, and I pull my gun up, and like I said, they're on a dead run because my dad and Mike spooked them.
Yeah,
going down there. But they were on a dead run, and I pull my gun up, and I'm looking down the barrel, open sights, no scope, looking down the barrel, and looked at the first one. Nope. They just kept coming. I kept saying no because they were all little bitty does. Yeah, little dinks.
Them is ones taste the best. You know that, right?
Yeah, but it makes you feel good if you take a nice mature doe.
Well, yeah.
But I'm passing and passing. I keep seeing them come up the hill, so I'm not afraid to pass on them because there's more options coming. And all of a sudden, this big giant doe finally comes up, bringing up the rear, and so I pull, get dialed in on her, pull my gun up on her a little more, and I shoot, and she drops. And I, to myself, in my head, was like, no way. There's no way. Because it was like literally easily 120 yards. I was using my Mossberg 500. It's 20 gauge. And it dropped her. I was like, that's cool. So I waited, 35, 40 minutes or so. And I wanted to make sure Dad and Mike got done with their got down there to where they were walking and all that stuff, and got sat down or whatever, because if I walk over there, I could push something off the left side down to them. That's just how it works. So I walk over, and I'm looking for this doe, and it's a bunch of thistles and briars, and I don't see her, and I'm going, I know I watched her drop. Where's this deer? So I'm looking around, and I look a little bit further to my left down the ridge line from where I was sitting, a little further away. And I look up, and this doe is standing, looking around like she's lost. And I'm like, what the heck? So I pull my gun up on her, and she turns her head to the left like she heard me. And when she looks at me, her eyeball is gone. I shot this deer somehow, like not in the head. It came by her face and grazed her eyeball and blew it out. Don't ask me how. I obviously led a little too far, and I judged her distance a little too, she was too close. So it was high in front of her. But so, she didn't act any weird, like she was hurt. She just acted lost.
Yeah. And
I would be too if somebody shot my eye out. But when I saw her standing there, I pulled my gun up and put her down the rest of the way. Just one shot, dropped her on the spot. I'm only standing 15 yards from her.
Yeah.
But I think that one really stands out because at the end of that hunt, after I gutted her, tagged her, was dragging her out, got up to the truck, Dad and Mike walked back up there. They're like, hey, glad to see you got it and stuff. And then Dad's looking at it and says, what did you do to this deer?
I could just picture your dad saying that. Just looking at you.
I was like, I led her a little too far, and I judged her a little too far. But I got her. So I mean, it was exciting because I didn't think I was going to make a shot that far, especially with a little, 20 gauge with open sights.
Right.
That's what really got me. I kind of impressed myself on that, but
yeah, that
was definitely a fun one.
I would have to say mine, without a doubt. Actually, I've got two of them, but I'll just share the one right now.
And we'll one, and then I'll do one, and then you do one.
Okay.
And then we'll see what happens.
Okay. Both of mine involve turkeys.
Yeah, then we have to break that up because once you start on turkeys, it never stops.
Oh, so 3 years ago, because Bryson was born 2 years ago, so I was not able to hunt until the last weekend.
Right.
I should have thought about, things a little bit more before we conceived to where
the timing.
Yeah, we should have just waited a little bit longer.
I made that mistake twice.
Well, so anyway, 3 years ago, we was hunting a property. It was just me and my dad, my brother, and I had hunted it the previous morning. No, it would have been the 2 mornings before that, because this was opening day that I hunted by myself. And so at the time, Zane was hunting youth.
Okay.
And so we hunted a totally different property. Called Zane's bird up, which that's actually on our YouTube channel. That hunt is the very first YouTube video that is uploaded. But so Zane calls we called his bird up. His dad and I were probably sitting about 25 yards apart, and we were both calling, and this gobbler came in and Zane killed him. Well, that bird took the family record. So after he was all gung ho about him killing the family record, I just let him go, let him enjoy it, whatever. So it's the very next morning, and I go out by myself, opening day, and I know where these birds roost at typically. Usually the birds, the gobblers will roost on one side and the hens will roost on the other. And this isn't a very big woods, so I'm able to get in between them, in the dark. But as the sun's coming up, I've already got my decoys out. I'm actually inside the woods at this time. There's a cornfield probably, 30 yards in front of me. But I'm right inside the woods because there's a little trail right there the turkeys use to get back and forth.
Right.
So sun's coming up and he starts gobbling. And there was 3 or 4 other gobbles in the same area. Those kind of sound more like jakes, but I don't know if you ever heard like super jakes, where they're jakes, but they're like a more mature jake and they gobble like a gobbler.
Yeah.
And so they just throw you off because you're listening to them gobble and you're thinking, okay, that's a longbeard.
Yeah.
And then they show up and they're jake.
And you went, oh.
So I'm thinking, obviously there's a super jake or something in there.
Right.
But I definitely hear a gobbler for sure. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm set up perfect. This is all going to happen the way I'm thinking it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden the hens start tree yelping. And the problem is the hens are actually between me and the gobbler. So they had actually roosted in a different area than they typically would have.
Right over here.
And this never happened before. It just so happened that it did on that morning, which later to find out, I walked over there and it had flooded. The area that the hens usually roost in was flooded. So I don't know if that pushed them more toward the gobblers. I don't know what it was.
Right.
So, of course, once the gobblers fly down, the hens are right there. He shuts up. He's not going to gobble anymore. He's got all of his hens with him. He does not care about me. That's 75, 80 yards away. And so he's just like, if you're not going to come to me, then I'm over it, So I give him some time. And it was a couple hours later, I was still sitting in the same spot, and I just happened to look up, and I run those flex tone decoys.
Yeah.
And they're just phenomenal decoys for the price.
Right.
I mean, I think they're what, $60?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I got them.
Yeah.
I got 2.
Yeah. So I just happened to look up, and a coyote comes flying through the cornfield into the woods and attacks one of my decoys. So I'm like, what the heck? So obviously I would have shot him if I would have known he was coming, but I just happened to look up. I mean, it happened in seconds.
Right.
So I get up and I go to fix my decoy. I pick it back up. I set it back on the stake. And I turn around, and as I'm walking back to my tree, I can see a hen. And she's probably a good 65, 70 yards away. So I crouch down, I go back to the tree that I'm at. Well, the way that I had set up to where the turkeys, where they typically would go, was in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But just like anything else that morning, nothing went as planned.
Not working out.
So these hens, and I can hear them, yelping a little bit, and they're clucking as they're coming through the woods. And the problem is they're coming from behind me. So I can't really turn around very much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see out of the very corner of my eye, I can see these hens. And then I can see 3 jakes that are behind them. And I'm thinking, okay, surely that bird this morning was not just a super jake. And it was just the most gobbling sound that you can hear. And so I'm watching these birds, and next thing I know, I see this big black blob coming through the woods. And I thought, there he is. And this sucker strutted for a good 75 yards the whole way in. And I think the hens and the jakes at this point are like 10 yards to my left. I mean, they're right there. And they're just kind of looking at my decoys. They're kind of looking at me, trying to figure things out. And the gobbler gets closer to me. And when a tree comes down and the roots come out into the ground.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting on one side of the tree, and this turkey is so close to me when he's strutting that his wings are hitting the roots of the same tree that I'm on right behind me. And I don't know if you've ever heard a turkey drum or a turkey spit.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, well, when a turkey spits, it's like a.
Yeah.
I mean, and that close, it feels like bass in a car. Like it just rattles. It's the coolest feeling ever.
Right.
But I can't turn around and look at him. I know he's right behind me, but I can't see him. And I'm scared to move. Like, you know how you keep your eyes in one spot for so long, they start watering?
Yeah.
They start hurting. And I'm like, I can't do nothing about it.
Headache.
Exactly. So as soon as I go to kind of move my head just a little bit, a squirrel runs up a tree next to me and starts barking. Well, at this point, turkeys start putting. They start moving around, going all different directions. And so my only instinct is, okay, I'm going to try to spin, get on this bird, and squeeze the trigger as fast as I can before he is gone.
Going to be like Rambo.
Yeah, before he's gone. So I spun. I got the beat on him. But by that time, I mean, there were turkeys going everywhere. I mean, because they went from being 10 yards away and being right behind me to 30 yards. Bam. Yeah. I mean, just gone. And so I'm like, shoot, well, now what am I going to do? Well, I can hear the hens yelping in the woods, but I can hear the gobbler gobbling out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, these birds are separated now. And it's kind of like fall hunting. So I don't know if you watch any videos or heard about fall, but a lot of people will run up on birds and purposely scare them, like scatter them.
Okay.
And then once they get separated, and then they'll start yelping and they'll call back to each other. And well, that's how a lot of people kill them in the fall. Kind of the same scenario this hunt. So I knew the birds were separated. And I knew he was out in the cornfield. So I grabbed my feeder hen and I belly crawled her out into the cornfield. And I literally stuck her probably, I don't know, a foot out in the cornfield. And the way that the sun was shining down, I don't know if you ever seen like turkeys in a field and the sun shining down, they like glisten.
Yeah, they glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the flex tone decoys glow like that when the sun's beating down on them. So, and all it took was him to spin and see her, and this turkey come running, and I'm talking like freight train, like not stopping. And so he gets to about 15 yards of me, and I kill him. But I'm like, the whole time I'm thinking there's no way that this just happened. I mean, this turkey, 5 minutes ago was scraping the tree that I was on right behind me.
Right.
And then the squirrel, and then the birds taking off, the coyote. Craziest hunt I've ever been on, but the most memorable. And here's why. Not because I was that close to a turkey, not because I felt the spit in my soul, but because that turkey took back the family record. So Zane held the family record for less than 24 hours, and I took it back. And unfortunately, my wife holds that family record now. But
You'll have that.
Yeah, we just won't talk about that too much.
No. Well, going off of your craziest hunt, as far as setup and everything else, I would say this year's opening day was the most eventful hunt I have ever had in my life. I was literally on the edge of my seat, tree stand, the whole time.
Is this the time where you passed up that sheeter buck that you definitely should have shot that walked around underneath your stand?
We'll talk about that another day. But so I get out there. It's opening bow season, opening day for Ohio. I'm on a property that I've had permission for. This is my second year hunting it. And we went out and put the double stand up. I had a stand up already. And you said, hey, let's put a camera stand. So that way I got somewhere to sit and film you. So we chose that stand.
Mm-hmm.
So we were out there, 2 weeks before that, if that?
Yeah.
And I go out to the stand. It's just me. And I get out there. I probably got to the farm at like 5:30. And my goal is to always be in the stand by 6 or an hour before sunrise.
Right.
And usually around that time of year, it's 7 o'clock.
Right.
But, so I get out there and get up in my stand, get the camera set up. And it was probably not even 8:30 yet. And I hear a coyote growling in the woods, probably not even 100 yards from me. I mean, I'm kind of tucked back in a corner of a field. And, this field's surrounded 3 sides by woods. And I'm in the corner of, 2 of those woods. And this coyote this nastiest sounding growl I've ever heard a coyote make, honestly. And probably, 20 minutes after that, this buck comes running. The corn's still up, by the way, in this field. The corn's still up. And there's a ditch that runs. It's probably like a 6-foot deep ditch.
I remember that ditch.
That runs across that whole field there. So this buck runs from the corner, the very, very corner. He comes from there, jumps the ditch, and then runs right under my stand. Literally. Like, I have a video. We'll post it up. I don't know if Jake has already or not, but
I have not.
I will send you the video. This deer is literally, you can see the ladders of my stand right beside him. And I know there's a bigger buck in that woods. I got pictures. He's there. I just trying to catch him in between, time and all that stuff. So this buck that ran under me is a nice deer, nice buck.
I just shot him.
Young,
every day of the week.
Young,
every time
still has a ton of potential though because he's already big. I swear that deer's got to only be 2 years old. He's young, so I think
I'd still shot him. He was huge.
I think next year he's going to be a monster. So that's what I'm hoping for anyway because I passed him. So that's what.
Yeah, but you've been regretting it ever since.
Every time I watch that video, that deer gets bigger. I swear it does. But so I pass him, and he kind of hangs out for a minute around my stand, and he kind of makes his way like down the woods that I'm in. And not even a minute later, I hear more crashing through the corn, and here comes a doe, and she is hauling the male. And it looks like she had like a yearling behind her trying to keep up. Well, that yearling was a coyote, and he is hot on her tail trying to get a meal for the morning. And probably that night too, and all his buddies and everything else, So anyway, this doe is on the other side of the ditch where the buck came from. And she gets maybe, 60, 70 yards from my stand, and she clears the ditch. And her nose must have been on point because I think she smelled that buck standing there, and she kind of ran right to him, and they both took off into the woods together.
Yeah.
Well, that coyote was like, yeah, I'm not going to clear that ditch like that deer just did. So it gives up, and it just kind of hangs out for a minute. And at this point, I already got my bow in my hand, and I'm trying to spin the camera around to record it. Well, by the time I get the camera spun around and get my release hooked up, that coyote's took off into the corn again. I'm like, well, crap. So I'm sitting there, and not even 10 minutes later, another doe comes through the corn from further up the field, but I could see her and I could really hear her. I mean, it was loud.
No.
Well, as I'm watching this doe run through the corn, I hear something crunching, back to my other side. So I flip around and there's that coyote. It came back out of the corn trying to see what's going on because it heard all that commotion too.
Right.
So I went, oh, that's a bad call. You're getting a shot. So I already got the camera pretty much right on it. And all I had to do was make a small adjustment with it and hit record. And I pulled back on her. And this dog literally sat right on the spot. And that's when I shot. And it was probably a 30, 35-yard shot.
Yeah, it was something like that. I got the video. I need to upload that video.
Yeah. I'd like to step it off too at some point so I know exactly how far. But I think it's 30, 35 yards.
Yeah.
And, this dog just dropped. So me being me, I don't, when you kill an animal, you want it to just die.
Right.
I don't like, even if it is a coyote, I don't want it to sit there and suffer.
Right.
Well, I think I spined her and she was crawling with her front legs and her back legs were dragging. So I was like, daggone it. So I'm going to go down there and put this thing down the rest of the way. And I'm standing like not even 10 yards from this dog because it ain't going nowhere, obviously.
Right.
So I shoot another arrow into it. Well, I used my top pin and it was just a little too close to be using the top pin. I should have aimed up a little further. And I shot her basically. I just snagged the armpit. Yeah. It didn't hit anything. So I was like, crap. So I hurry up and throw the third and final arrow that I had on me in my bow and shoot her. And it was the kill shot. She died pretty quick. And so I'm like, great. Now I got 3 broadheads that I just bought. This is the first time they've been launched. And I got to dig them out of a dead coyote now. Well, luckily, these are some good broadheads. Thank you, blood therapy. And they went all the way through. But while this dog was laying there, she was biting my arrows and breaking them off. And like I said, I only had 3 arrows on me because I hadn't gone and stocked up again. So I had to leave the stand, leave the hunt with broken arrows.
Little freaking coyote.
Because of a coyote. And then I had to run to Walmart and buy cheap arrows.
For the next coyote.
So that way I could keep going. But I bought 6 this time, so I have some backups now at least. But yeah, that was like the craziest, most eventful hunt I've ever had by myself, I should say. There's been others with other people.
Yeah.
Southern Ohio hunts and stuff. But that one, being by myself, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I would have to say, I actually had another hunt in mind for my second hunt. But after thinking about it, I think my second most memorable hunt would probably have to be when your sister killed her bird last year.
Yeah.
Just because she was so excited about it. I was pumped, because, you always, when you've killed a lot of birds, you like to see other people kill birds too. Like right. It means it's just as cool for me to call these birds in and watch people have the fun that they have and are successful with these birds than it is for me actually pulling the trigger.
Just like you filming deer.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just
fun.
It's just fun.
It's fun to watch people be successful.
So the morning of your sister's bird, for those of you that don't know, Justin is my brother-in-law. Obviously my wife is his sister. So, the morning my wife killed her first bird, we were actually hunting a different property, to begin with. Ashley had actually put a lot of legwork in this year. She knocked on a lot of doors, and she actually got both of the properties that we hunted that day. But the first property, the birds there are hunted by others. They are call shy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're extremely hard to call at because it just seems like once you just yelp even a little bit, they're just like, nope, not having it. I'm out of here.
Right.
But there's
I know what's going on here.
Yeah, there's a ton of birds there. I mean, it's nuts. It's right on a river. It's just crazy. So we sat there till probably, I don't know, 8:30 or so. I was working second shift at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually quit hunting about 10:30, 11 o'clock anyway, go home, get a power nap, and go to work. And so we sat there till about 8:30. And then I said, we can go try this new spot you got. We can go just throw a few yelps out, see if anything gobbles. At this time, we don't know there's turkeys there, how many's there. I mean, we know there's turkeys there because the landowner told us there's turkeys there.
Right.
We don't know how many, You
don't know the land. You don't know where
exactly.
they're roosting and everything else.
Yeah. So we go to this spot, and I left the camera in the truck because I didn't know really what to expect. I didn't want
dummy.
I didn't want to lug all this camera gear in there, and then I just lug it all right back out.
Right.
Plus this being her first hunt, I just wanted to focus on her getting the bird. I didn't want there to be any kind of distraction. I didn't want there to be anything that would potentially ruin the hunt.
Right.
So we start walking in, and it's not a very big property. There's a river that runs around it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start walking in, and I yelp a few times on the slate. No gobbles. And I don't know what it is with me, but I'm good with a slate in a box. But a mouth call, it's game over. Like there's just things that I can do with a mouth call that I can't do with a slate. And I don't understand it. So I pop my mouth call in. I think I was running the Tom Teaser diaphragms is what I ran last year. And so we get down there, and once I use a slate, no response. I throw the mouth call in, and we probably walked a good 25 yards. And I yelp a few times on the mouth call, and it just, I'm like, oh crap. So this might really happen here. So we start walking closer to him, and hey, he's probably 150 yards at this time. I mean, he's a good distance away, and I wanted to close the gap. We was running out of time, and I just want to try to make this happen for her. Because once you hear your first gobble, or your first couple gobbles, you're addicted, and you're just like, I just want to see this bird,
That's how I was.
Yeah. So we start walking in, and we brought about every 30 yards, I'm yelping again. Mm-hmm. And he's still going nuts. At this time, there's only one gobbling. So we kind of walked up on this ridge, up on this hill, and I thought maybe that I could see down and maybe try to see him, but I wanted to move slow and use the woods because I didn't want him skylining me. Like I didn't want there to be, like I said, I didn't want there to be any chance of ruining this hunt. So we get set up, and we're 80 yards from this bird, and he's across the river. And so I'm like, shoot, I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if he's just going to keep gobbling his head off because he hasn't moved.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to keep gobbling his head off, and then I don't know how many hens he's got with him. Is he going to fly that river? I have no idea. So I broke out into a fighting purr, and it wasn't seconds after I started that fighting purr. All you heard was, and we looked over, and there's a ton of birds just flying the river back over toward us. I'm thinking, holy crap.
Wanting to see what's going on.
There's just one bird gobbling, and there's 15 of them down there. Surely he don't have 14 hens with him.
Yeah.
And so he's gobbling and gobbling. And then all of a sudden another one gobbles. And then a different one gobbles. And there was 4 different birds gobbling down there below the hill. Now this time they're on the same side of the river we are. Right. Like they've done crossed the river, and they're wanting to come. But they're not coming any closer. And I'm thinking, if them birds are going to fly the river like that, and they're as hot as they are, I mean, they're cutting me off with every yelp.
Yeah.
There's something between me and them that they're not wanting to go through. The only thing that I can think of that'll do that to a turkey is a barbed wire fence. So I'm like, well, I didn't see no barbed wire. But then it dawned on me, my wife said that they used to release their cattle back there.
So they got them fenced in.
Yeah. So we kind of backed out down the hill, and we went back around. Well, this time we were going toward the river, and there's a small strip of timber that runs along the river, right outside the field.
Right.
And sure enough, there was a fence right there, and it wasn't even a barbed wire fence. It was like one of those hog wire fences.
Just a field fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we crossed the fence, and we get set up. And I told Ashley, I said, as soon as I start calling, I mean, we're on the same side of the fence as these birds. There is nothing stopping them from coming in.
Ready.
You better be ready. And so she sets up right in front of me, and I'm just kind of hiding behind the tree, the same one that she's on, because I want to be able to talk to her. I want to be able to keep her calm and stuff when these birds are coming in, because I don't know if these birds come running in. I don't want her swinging her gun because they're just going to take off.
Right.
So I yelp 3 times, and all the gobblers all at once just hammer. And I told her, I said, I'm shutting up. I ain't saying another word. They're going to come in. And it wasn't seconds later. We just see a bunch of heads just coming through the woods. And they're coming as like my turkey did 3 years ago, just a freight train.
Just charging.
Just coming. And so sure enough, these birds are coming in, and they're getting to 15 yards. And I'm not kidding you. There's probably 20 some birds here all in one. And there's a bunch of gobblers, bunch of hens. And yeah, Jared, will you get us a beer? Thanks, man. Anyway, so they're just coming, and I knew that once the birds started coming through the woods, that she was going to try to pick one out, but then she start bouncing back and forth, and that's what I didn't want her to do. Right. I didn't want her swinging the gun back and forth.
Gotta be holding still.
Yeah. So I said, just pick a long beard, I want you to put the bee at the base of the neck and squeeze the trigger, and she does. She kills this bird. And I've got a tag in my pocket at this time. So technically, and when she killed this bird, all the other gobblers just stayed there, and they jumped on top of her bird.
Yeah.
So technically, she could have handed me her gun, and I could have filled my tag at the same time.
Right.
I didn't want to do that because this is like the third day of season.
Yeah. And
I didn't want to okay, now my season's done. I want to keep going out there. So I was we'll just come back another time, and I'll kill another bird.
And you let her have her fun, good, successful hunt.
And I wanted her to have her time. Yeah, exactly. So we walk up to this bird, and I'm extremely happy for her, but at the same time, I'm like, this woman just killed the family record on her first bird. I mean, the hooks on this bird were phenomenal. The beard was almost 12 inches long. I mean, and that is just
crazy.
Yeah. I think mine was 11 to 5/8, something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought there's no way that no
one's going
to beat this, Of course, my wife does.
Wrong.
Yeah. So we get it back, and of course we get some pictures taken, and then Bryson and Braley want to get their pictures taken too.
Right.
But this year I'm really excited because I get to take a kid that's never turkey hunted before.
Yeah.
I get to take him out, and so he gets to experience his first turkey hunt. But even more than that, I'm taking Braley out this year. So, and those of you who don't know, Braley is my 7-year-old daughter. And she has been on me about going hunting. She's been deer hunting with me before. She's been waterfowl hunting. I've never taken her turkey hunting because I know she can't sit still. So I'm like, I want you to grow up a little bit. I want you to be able to sit still. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a blind. And I'm going to put a blind out there.
Yeah.
I already know exactly where I'm going to go, the location, the property, everything.
The spot.
I'm going to take the decoys out. We're going to get there nice and early so I can work in the dark, put the decoys out, get back to the blind, because most turkeys, you can take a blind and just set it anywhere and they're not going to pay no attention to it.
Because it's not moving.
Well, yeah. But the problem you're going to have with doing that, though, is even just because the turkeys don't care about it, don't mean the deer aren't.
Right. They'll give it
so
away.
If the deer come out in the field and they're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That was not there yesterday evening.
Yeah.
And they blow and take off. Obviously, everything in the area is going to take off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it in a spot where I can kind of brush it in. And then that way she can get her nice close shot. We are going to get her very own 410 this year for Christmas. So she's going to be able to take her own shotgun. She's going to be able to shoot her own bird. And I'm going to tell you right now, if a Jake comes in, she better pound it.
Yeah.
So I am pumped for this year. Oh, yeah, we got to get you a bird, too.
I need to get a bird.
Yeah.
I need to get a bird bad.
We heard him over there at your one property last year, but we didn't really hunt that much last year for you.
I'm still on the fence we still got time this month. Ohio's
we got
turkey goes out
too.
Ohio's turkey goes out on the 29th of November.
Yeah.
So, we still have some time.
Yeah, we can definitely do a fall hunt.
Might try a little bit of it since the deer. Well, I think we should wait. Rut seems like it's kicking in now.
It don't matter to me. The good thing about...
I might just wait till spring, honestly.
Well, we've talked about this too.
There's so many options.
If I buy a fall turkey tag, because in Ohio, there's only certain counties you can fall turkey hunt in.
Right.
And it just so happens that the one county that you hunt, it's a fall turkey.
Yep.
So we might do something to where, I buy a turkey tag and I take my bow, and you always take your bow for deer, and
we'll just sit together.
It happens.
You shoot a turkey and I'll shoot a deer.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be cool.
You shoot a big old buck and I shoot a big long beard. Have that in the same picture.
That'd be sweet.
Like, I'll be running the camera for you deer.
Did you see that guy in Wisconsin?
Dude
went out to shoot a deer. Goes out, shoots a deer, a really nice buck, actually. He said it was his personal best. It was pretty decent. I think it was might have been like a big 8 or a 10 or something like that. But he's on his way back to the house, or to the truck, maybe. I don't know. He was dragging his deer, and there's a freaking alligator laying in this path.
Was it real?
It was a dead serious real alligator.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a dead alligator.
No, it was that. No,
but then you threw me off with the dead serious part.
No, I'm being dead serious. It was an alligator. So the dude in his story, he said he called the game warden to see what he would be allowed to do about it. Wisconsin does not have an alligator law of any kind because why? It doesn't have any alligators naturally,
except for the dead serious ones. But
the game warden said it's free game. I mean, you can shoot it and you won't get in trouble or nothing. But if you do, we want to see it. So just know that we will be there if you shoot this gator. But it wasn't like a big giant one or nothing. It was a baby, but it was still like 3 foot long.
Jesus.
And he's got a picture of his buck laying there with an alligator laying on top of it.
Do you think somebody had it as a pet? Maybe.
Yeah, that's what he said. He thinks somebody just let it go because it got too big or something like that. Which I can't stand people like that personally. But yeah, I was like, that's different. I mean, we had an alligator right down the road from my house here in the creek that somebody let loose. And the sheriff had to go out there and kill it.
That's crazy.
I don't know what's going on. It's Ohio.
It's
2020.
Yeah. Well, we're almost 45 minutes in this deal, and we didn't really expect it to take that long.
Be all right.
We started talking about turkeys and hunting in general.
Everybody else is going to be having fun too.
Exactly. Before we go, though, I do want to say that in an upcoming episode, really soon, actually, we're going to be talking with the Lockjaw Lure guys. I contacted both of those guys, asking them if they would be willing to come on, and both Philip and Justin were
all about
ecstatic about it. Yeah, they're pumped, and we're pumped to have them on. They're a great group of guys. Like we talked about in our last episode, they kind of built their foundation from the ground up. They went from, being real small and just doing what they can with the baits that they could make. And then now they're just exploding, and they're selling baits all over the place. And so we're going to get those guys and talk to those guys a little bit about Lockjaw Lure. In the meantime, if you guys want to go and check out their Facebook page and their Instagram page, see what they have to offer. That way, when we're talking about it in the next episode or two, you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
But in the meantime,
can anybody guess what kind of beer this is? Bush.
Is that we're actually drinking Bush Heavies tonight?
Yeah, changing it up a little bit.
I forgot how good they taste.
I kind of like changing it up once in a while.
Well, so do I, because I forgot how good they taste.
They were.
Yeah, we're so used to drinking Bush Light, and then we drink this Bush Heavy, and it's like, that's really good. All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in to this episode. We'll come back with another one here soon.
Yeah. We'll have some more fun.
Absolutely,
every time.
But again, we appreciate you guys tuning in and the support that you've been giving us. Like I say, you can find our podcast on YouTube and Facebook. And then we got actually one more episode to record.
We'll be getting on iTunes.
We'll be on iTunes. So I'll let you guys know when we're on iTunes. And then you guys can check us out there as well.
Subscribe. So, make sure you do it.
Yep. But all right, guys, we appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.